Welcome to our Facebook Live. Thank you very much for coming on. My name is Heidi Waldoch. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have with me Luke Askew, motivational speaker from the United Kingdom. We are going to be talking today in real stories of mental health and how you are not your mental health diagnosis. We're really excited to talk about this today. Just want to do a quick spiel about that I've been doing these videos since the beginning of the year and then increased them during COVID. We're talking about different mental health issues, different tips. We talk about lots of different things. You can also head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell for notifications. We are very excited to stepping forward to share real stories, not just hearing tips from me. So I'm really excited to hear from you, Luke. If you could just introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll kind of dive into our topic today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you for having me back on. I appreciate it. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I had the honor of coming on and telling a little bit about my story and my real story, as you say, of mental health. Yeah, so I'm from the UK. I'm a motivational speaker, a mind coach, and 3 years ago, I suffered with depression. And I really went through a really dark season in my life, and that came as I was in my workplace, as I was doing all my work. I've always been somebody that associated my identity with what I did, and this was something that started and as I was a speaker and I went and did all these things, is I started to base my identity on what people thought of me, people's opinions of me, wanted validation about me, my talks and stuff like that. Then I would go on to compare myself to the other speakers, the other coaches, because I'd have my identity and all these kind of wrapped up things. And this continued to kind of go on for a long time, and eventually it all just got on top of me, and I just didn't know who Luke Askew was anymore. And I told my story, and if people want to learn more about the whole story and how I came out of it, they can do by watching the video that we last did. But I remember when I went to the doctors, and I was explaining how I felt, and I went through all these things, and the doctor said, Luke, I believe that you are struggling with depression, that you may be depressed. And that was the first time that I was given a label for how I felt. And very quickly, that label became my identity. And I became, hey, my name is Luke, and I'm depressed.
Yeah, so this is something that in the mental health field, it's my job to give people a mental health diagnosis. They're not able to use their insurance if I don't give them a mental health diagnosis. So this feels, to me, this is something that I've struggled with as a therapist, because I'll tell people, I've got to give you a diagnosis, then so that we're able to use insurance. But in my mind, I'm not thinking that they have this. I'm not thinking that this is who they are, because you're more than that. Like, you're more than, I mean, to me, so tell me a little bit about what this was like for you, being told I have depression, and that this is like, you took that on as your identity. And I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of people do this. We take that on as our identity.
And I'm going to probably say something that I probably need to say, and it's a very honest thing to say where I was at. And I believe now, working within the mental health sphere myself and talking to people who struggle with it in terms of more within the marketplace, within businesses and schools, is that as soon as my depression came my identity, just as though my works was my identity and what I did, my identity at first was wrapped up in my work, in my title, being a speaker. So when I would say, oh, I'm Luke Askew and I'm a speaker, I would just get validation from people wanting to hear more about my works and stuff like that. When I then got given the label of depression, it's now I took on the label of depression, and the same thing that I was searching for through people with my job, I was now searching for and getting validation from my diagnosis. So now the conversation wasn't about, hey, Luke Askew, how great is all the stuff that you do? It was like, oh, tell me more about your depression. And it was like I was feeding the pain. I was feeding the hole that needed filling now with my diagnosis, and how I was getting attention and validation from other people. And I believe that the thing that made me ultimately got me to the place of depression, and also where the difference in terms of where I am now as free from that that diagnosis and free from that feeling, is that a lot of people say to me now, Luke, how do you have such great peace in your life? Like, how are you content and fulfilled? And I would say I'm a fulfilled person. I believe that fulfillment is the thing that everyone's searching for. It's like the missing jigsaw piece in your life that everyone's trying to find through the work, through things. And when I was trying to fill this void with my work, I was doing it through my work. Now I couldn't do my work anymore. So I was filling this void through my diagnosis. And now I was trying to fill it through my diagnosis. So even though I was depressed, I was still trying to feed the missing part of me as much as I was when I was actually in the workplace.
One of the things that I've noticed that just in this field, even talking to therapists and clients, is that sometimes they kind of appreciate the diagnosis because they've been struggling, and finally I have a name for it. It's like if you have a sickness and you have a name for it, it's like, oh, thank you, this is the name for it. So could you also speak to that too? Because I think that sometimes people feel kind of encouraged that they have a name for it so that they know what to treat and how to overcome that struggle.
Yeah. And I think this is the thing with the label of depression or anxiety or any other mental health trait, is that when people are feeling a certain way or thinking a certain way, and it doesn't feel or authentic to them, there's something not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have that saying, I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
I just can't put my finger on what the problem is.
Right.
So when the doctor came to me and said, hey, the thing that you're finding, it's depression, that's the problem, I was like, oh, that's it, I'm depressed. That's it. That's what's wrong with me. That's why I feel unfulfilled. That's why I'm doing a job that I thought I loved, but there's still something missing.
Mm-hmm.
All this time I've been depressed and I've suffered with anxiety. So it was kind of like, now I stopped the search for the fulfillment. I accepted the void, I would say. Does that make sense?
Wow. Holy cow. You accepted the void and stopped looking for fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an honest point, because I think what the diagnosis did for a long time was stop me finding the thing that was the problem, was the root. And as soon as I identified the root, which was my identity, then once that was uprooted, I found fulfillment and peace. But when the doctor gave me the label, I stopped searching. I just accepted that that's what it was. And I feel like now in the mental health sphere and the talk of mental health is, now we have a label for what I believe everyone is feeling in terms of a void.
Yeah.
But because now we've been given a label.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now we've been given the label.
Right.
We're accepting the void. And these are the conversations I'm having with people. And I said this the other day, was I mentioned in the other talk, made to thrive, you're made to thrive, you're made to thrive, is that because we've now accepted a label to describe the void, we have lost the hope
Mhm.
that the void can be fulfilled.
Mhm.
We've kind of got to a point where I can't get over this. There's so many people that feel this void. There's so many people
Well,
that feel depression
if it's your
that
identity, if you're taking it on
if
as an
it's your
identity,
identity,
because I think some people will say, okay, I've got depression, and then they go to counseling and they start to seek fulfillment, and they treat getting rid of the depression. So can you speak to how, and not everybody does that though. Not everybody goes to
no,
counseling.
no, no, of course not.
So
Everything's
yeah,
unique as well.
yeah. So can you speak to how you talk about how you're not your diagnosis, and how you can, it's okay to feel something, but that's not your identity. Can you speak to that, and how you kind of can break free from that, that we cannot have it be our identity, and how
Yeah,
they'll have these struggles and go to counseling and be seeking and getting help? Because I don't want people to feel shame from this. I want people to feel
oh,
encouraged,
exactly. Yeah.
to feel hope that it's not, if you have a diagnosis, it's okay, but that there's
Mm,
more to us. There's more to who we are, and that is, there's fulfillment and more. So go ahead and speak to that.
yeah. The analogy that I use is, I take this water bottle and I used to use, I love this analogy. You can use adults or children.
Mhm.
And I always say when we're speaking about mental health and the young people, that I pastor over a lot of young people, and they say, "Oh, Luke, I'm depressed." I go, "Okay, look at this water bottle," and they go, "Right, okay, what do you mean?" And I said, "I feel the water bottle. I am the water bottle." And they go, "What?" And he goes, "There's a difference in my thinking and my identity. We operate from our place of identity. So as soon as I say I am the bottle, then I am just the byproduct of that. So my potential is wrapped up in my identity,
Oh, good.
my how I can move forward, my power, my ability to overcome my struggle,
Yes.
my ability to overcome my diagnosis is based on who I believe I am. So if I say that I am the depression, you cannot beat the depression. If you say I am the anxiety, you cannot beat the anxiety.
Mm.
Where there's a difference between you saying that I feel depressed and I feel
Yes.
anxious, but once you know that you are not that, and you are actually so much more powerful than that feeling or that experience or that trauma that you
Right.
experienced,
Right.
you can overcome
Yeah.
the scar. I like to say it is this: is imagine that you've got a car, and you've got this beautiful car that comes out the showroom, and it's
Yeah.
untouched. And imagine that's you, it's untouched, and it's so powerful and stuff. But the truth is that as we're going through life, your car is never going to just be clean. It's going to take some scrapes. It's going to
Yeah.
take some things and stuff like that. And what can happen along our journey is we can start to lose faith in our car's ability and worth. And this is what I mean is just on the basis of what you look on the outside doesn't mean what's actually been put within you. My car is, I bought my car for like £20,000 because it's got £20,000 worth of power within it. But now it's been scraped and it's a little bit older. People would say it's worth 3,000. The difference is that what's in the car was worth that. So in other words, that's what's within me is so powerful, so powerful. Just when I go on my journey and I experience things and I go through our own traumas and experiences and I start to feel these
Yeah.
emotions that come with being human,
Yes.
forget you in it.
Yeah.
Because before you know it, you just end up driving around feeling worthless because your car looks crap, or your car looks, oh, it's a little bit broken, or you've got a pop tire. You can be restored back into the image in which you left the showroom. And
Wow.
that's when my life changed, when I realized and I got told that actually just what I look like now, what people might identify me now and go, oh, Luke Askew is a youth motivational speaker, Luke Askew is depressed, Luke Askew's all these labels. Once I was able to restore myself back into my original image in which I was created, I knew what I could do. I knew the power that I had, and I knew ultimately how like loved I was. Does that make sense?
It's so beautiful that we can feel something, but that is not our identity, that it's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel anxious, that we all are going to have these feelings. We're going to have difficulties that come that we all experience, but that's not who we are. This is so encouraging. I really am so grateful and so honored to have you come on and talk about this. And I mean, it just feels, it feels, I'm feeling hope from you talking about this. So do you have any final messages of hope, final messages of encouragement for somebody who's watching that's like, yeah, but I've really been struggling with this diagnosis, and this has just been on my life for so long, and any final messages of hope for people to be able to move beyond their diagnosis, that it's okay to feel something, but it's not who you are?
I would really, really, really encourage anyone watching now that whether you're going through depression, anxiety, whether you've been diagnosed with something, whether you've gone through personal experience or trauma, is that the intention of your creation wasn't to go through them things. So the intention, the purpose in which you were created was so much more powerful and for so much good in the world. And I believe that everyone was created to do something powerful. Everyone was created to add value to the world. And the thing with this world is you are somebody of value, but the world can very quickly devalue you. And just because the world is devaluing you through experience or words that people say doesn't mean that you're not of value. So I would just encourage your viewers to one, connect to this woman here. She is somebody that has an ability to see your value and to restore you back into that identity. And I just could encourage people, if you are struggling with them feelings, you are struggling with the way that you're just thinking about the situation, come from a place of you are not that, and you want to discover who you truly are, and that will be where your journey truly begins, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this message.
You're more than welcome.
Really appreciate it. And everybody, how can people get to know you more? I know you have a website. We can put this on the link below, but they can also follow you on Instagram. Let everybody find you.
Yeah, I would say two places. Yeah, you can either go to my website, that'll tell you more about me, what I do, or then on Instagram is my most active social media post where I, bring these kind of words and experiences daily. And that URL handle is I am Luke Askew. And that's only because Luke Askew was taken. It's not like narcissistic. I'm the only Luke Askew in the world. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you have a blessed, wonderful rest of your day.
Yes. God bless. Bye.